Need a professional space to bring your vision to life? Dominion Television Studios offers state-of-the-art facilities perfect for your next broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options, cutting-edge equipment, and a supportive team, we provide the perfect environment for high-quality productions. Unleash your creativity. For bookings, email us at marketing@dominion.org.ng. Call us on 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast and on X at Dominion Cast. Book your space today. Dominion Television, your channel of choice.
Good morning and welcome to Daybreak Live Extra, of course, on Dominion Television. It's Thursday, the 26th of March, 2026. Thank you for starting your day with us. I am Samson Balogun.
And I'm Oluwayemi Adelakun. We're glad to have you join us as we bring you the stories and conversations shaping the day.
We begin this morning with developments in the education sector as the federal government proposes to scrap the common entrance examination and instead track students' academic journey using the National Identification System. The move is already generating conversations around access, structure, and future of basic education in Nigeria.
After our opening discussion, we'll bring you the weather reports to help you plan your day, followed by Daybreak News, where we'll take you through the major national and international stories making headlines.
Then it is on to newspaper headlines and analysis, where we will review the front pages and unpack the key issues driving public discourse this morning.
Definitely. Then later in the program, we turn to our big story between party loyalty and public interest. Where should true representation lie in a political climate where allegiance and accountability often intersect? We ask, what truly comes first, the party or the people? And joining us for that conversation is Fama Omolara Kafilat Busari Vincent, 2027 APC aspirant for a better state constituency.
And as always, we'll round off with Trend Watch, where we track the conversations shaping public attention across social and civic spaces.
This is Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. Please stay with us.
Stay with us.
Right.
Good morning to you.
Good morning.
They say Throwback Thursday. How much, how back do you think we should go this morning?
Maybe 1960. Let's trace the independence.
Well, if you were going to do that, you should probably be putting on this attire, Oleku. What did they call it this morning?
Okay. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow, since tomorrow is Friday.
It's Friday.
Right.
Okay. Really nice to be back here to discuss major issues.
We are glad to receive you back.
Of course, I was off yesterday, so
right.
definitely. I'm really glad to be back on this table with you, discussing issues that bother us on what the country would all dream of should look like. And that being said, we are talking about education. Most Nigerians would want to see the education sector evolve or maybe revolve to get to that point where they say, yes, this is the kind of sector we are looking at, we have always wanted to see. Right. And there's this story that broke out yesterday that the Ministry of Education are looking at scrapping the common entrance system and then bring about what we call student identification and tracking number. So your progress from primary to primary 1, primary 2, primary 3 is to be tracked up to maybe primary 5 that people have now. There used to be primary 6 at a point, but I don't know if some schools still have
even
it.
There are people who even have double promotion from primary 2 straight to primary 4 or something.
And then there was a time people were having their common entrance in primary 4.
Right.
I mean, they don't wait for primary 5 or primary 6. By primary 4, they're already in the higher institution. Though there are, if you are brilliant, yes, you might scale through, but if for any reason you skip some of these things, you might just have to...
You pay for it.
You pay for it at the end of the day. But then, that is, a new system is about to be introduced, meaning that your progress will be tracked from the word go, and then up till maybe primary 5, and then they can say, yes, it is time for you to move to the next phase of education in the country. You don't have to sit for an exam, because in most cases, deciding factor, which is an examination, is really not the true test of knowledge. Because sometimes you find some people who are really, really brilliant, and then they sit for an exam that decides their fate, and then they fail due to some reasons, probably for individual mistakes, or maybe sometimes the systemic failure that comes with it, or maybe in some cases to examination malpractice, someone cheats beside you and then you also had to pay for it, and some other things like that. But at the end of the day, will this new structure work in the Nigerian education system, or we'll have to adapt to it as time goes on? What is the yardstick to be used, and what's the benchmark? Should we say, oh, let's implement this in 5 years' time, we can say, yes, we have actually achieved this? Or it should be, the fire brigade approach that we used to do, and then we implement a policy, and then we say, oh, because of so-so reason, we don't want to go with this again, we'll have to wait for so number of years, and then we'll go back to the what we used to do before. So this it's a delicate situation, actually. And then if we can get it right, yes, it's a welcome development, because it means that we are moving to that age where we modernize education totally in Nigeria, digitalize everything, and then we say, yes, we're also there.
I think you're very spot on, and then I would like to take you from the point of, are we really set for this new development? I recall there was a time that they removed history from the curriculum, and the minister, Tunji Alausa, said, okay, because, people need to be familiar with their own history, let us return it back, because there was no proper plan in the first place to say, okay, let us remove this subject. So basically, at the point of appointment of, Dr. Tunji Alausa, he said that, he's interested in making sure that, there'll be a lot of reforms in the education sector. And I even saw a tweet yesterday, and then someone said, Dr. Tuji is a medical doctor. Why is it that the president did not appoint someone that has a PhD in education line? So basically, I think Nigerians should just be a little bit calm, really. Speaking about the reform now, and then he made a claim to say that we have about 50,000 public schools, primary public schools in Nigeria, and about 23 million pupils as well. He now said, a little over 3 million are able to cross over to the junior secondary school. Why? Because they are unable to maybe pass the exams and things like that. So I will always say, you see, it's not enough to actually, be so particular about reform. You need to check why about 20 million are unable to pass or move to the next level. What is the problem? What is the quality of those public schools? Because why is it that, at the end of the day, the majority of those who are unable to cross, went to public schools? Right. What's happening with the private schools? So I think the one thing that Dr. Tunji must also ensure is the fact that they need to improve the quality of those schools. Because at the end of the day, if you say, okay, they don't need common entrance, then...
Have you been to some public schools?
It's terrible. Honestly, if you see the condition,
dilapidated BDAs, and then some schools have been turned to dumping grounds by even the residents. I mean,
exactly.
That's an aberration. Actually.
Honestly, I think I recall there was a video that circulated online, I think about last 2 months, of a lady who did a video of a particular school that is not in good shape, and at the end of the day, she was assaulted in her house alongside her mother. So when people speak up, sometimes it becomes a problem. If you don't have a thick skin, she got bullied at some point, and I don't think it's fair. So majorly, even this young lady, Ochaya, that was, that had to lose her life at some point. She moved from her parents' village to another village because of education, because there was no school at all in our village. So it's a problem. So I think one major thing that they need to focus on is to improve the quality of those schools, to ensure that if at all we scrap common entrance, these people that we are producing, they are going to be better. They are going to stand out amongst their peers in the future. Because if you help them to scale through that process and they are not so grounded, whether you like it or not, whatever it is that you didn't learn at a particular level, it will show, it will be obvious in the future. And then he also mentioned, I think that's one thing that I also like, that they need to build more schools. But it's not about building schools, it's about even the ones that we have. What are you doing?
The ones we have now.
Are they
what's
okay?
The state?
Are they okay? I've seen parents who do not have much, but because they cannot afford to send their kids to public schools, they can't borrow money. They take loans because they cannot afford it, because of how the public schools are. There was a time in this country, it's better you go to public schools than private schools because you have the best of teachers. All the, our past heroes, our fathers, they went to public schools and they are brilliant.
Majority of the leaders we have now in the country, most of them benefited from the free education of the old Western region.
Exactly. Obafemi Awolowo. So those, if I recall, there was this University of Ibadan that is very close to us. There was a time in this country, maybe in the 70s or so, they take free meal. Imagine.
I think I came across the meal ticket from one of the old students and said this was the meal ticket at that time. And how much was on the ticket? It wasn't even going to pay for it. It was just stipulated on the ticket that yes, this meal will cost us so amount of. But as a student, it's free.
It's very early in the morning. You take tea, and then maybe before 12 you take your food and things like that. But we don't have that anymore. Maybe some will argue maybe it's because of the economy. We had the oil boom in the 70s. Maybe that's why that was possible. But at the end of the day, kudos to him if he's trying to ensure that we have some reforms in the education sector. But then when you check the foundation, the problem was there all along. We are not just focusing. Let's go back to improving the quality of those schools, and then let's us think about this twice before we actually embark on it. Is he in favor of those two? Are we doing them a favor? It's not about today, it's about their tomorrow, really.
Well, still talking about that. I think a lot is to be done at this time. Saying that means the next step, of course, the new reform means that we'll be doing more of technological advancements in the education sector. And then the use of AI and some other tools will be employed to get some things done. And it means that teachers will have to be updated. I mean, curriculum also has to be updated to modern day realities to make sure that these students are well taught, and then they can also monitor their progress. And it's not just, we can't just wait until now they are now in primary 6 or maybe primary 5, and then you want to check if that person is qualified to move to the next day. It means that you have to start from primary 1 to check what exactly is the problem. If you start failing now, what should we do? There should be a graph that shows that, oh, in Nigeria, now that we have started a new method, okay, how many students are failing, how many are passing, what is the problem, what can we do to resolve all of this, and how can we get this done within a short period of time to make sure that everyone gets, becomes beneficiary of this. Because at the end of the day, there's no point when we start a policy and then it doesn't last. I mean, it doesn't see the light of the day. We are really good at developing fantastic policies in Nigeria. You see people talking and you are like, yes, but then the main problem is implementation. When it comes to the stage of implementation, then you ask questions. Because what exactly are we rushing when we can easily wait? Give ourselves time frame. Another problem is when we give ourselves time frame, most of the time we don't meet up because there is this thing about us, African time. Oh, we still have more time to achieve this, and at the end of the day, you won't achieve it. Look at the Vision 2020, the Millennium Development Goal, MDG, the targets that were set at that time, were they met? It's a very big question because at the end of the day, it wasn't. And people are not really talking about it anymore. We're already thinking about 2027. And then after that, we'll think about 2031. It's really, I think the electoral cycle, they are too close. The Nigerians they easily forget about governance and then talk about politics. And these are two different things. We need to work on what we need to do to make sure that per time, we are talking about things that really matter to the Nigerian people. Education, health, good roads, water. These are things Nigerians really do not ask for. They are not asking for too much. They just want to survive. They want to have things that government should originally provide. And when you provide and you say they should pay, Nigerians, please, you too, pay for these things. But some of them are not free in the Western world too, in the developed countries that you are talking about. Because it saddens me that an average Nigerian thinks Nigeria is the worst country in the world, which is not true. There are so many places that are worse than Nigeria. Well, how about war-torn areas around the world? I mean, Nigeria is still, compared to those places to a reasonable extent, Nigeria is still better than some countries across the world. So let's make good use of what we have now, put it to good use, and then let's develop strategically. Let's look at, there's no point having 16-point agenda when you can't even do 2 or maybe do 3. Let's focus on maybe 1 or 2. An administration comes on board, reform the health sector. let's know that the health sector has been sorted. One comes on board, let's talk about education. The other, maybe good roads. I mean, fix all the roads in the country. If they are good roads, they should last maybe 20, 30 years. And no one should come back in the next 4 years and say, I want to fix the same road someone fixed yesterday. Sometimes when they fix roads in Nigeria, you realize the fact that maybe someone just painted the ground and then left. By the time it rains...
And they take pictures and post
and now, in fact, they are very good at taking drone shots of such roads. Very bad roads, actually. But then, and then when they take those shots, you'll be wowed. But then when it rains, then the floor starts shifting, and it's a problem. Let's do, if it is just one thing you want to do, let it be quality. Let it be sure. Let the next administration be sure that during my tenure, I'm not coming back to fix the same road. I'm fixing another road. What's the point in repeating the same cycle every 4 years? It doesn't make sense. So another thing we should also look at is to invest heavily in teacher training. Because at the end of the day, these are the people that will handle the technologies you are handing over to them. At least there's someone who have to impute this data that you are bringing about this student's progress. Someone will have to do that. It's not just one person. It has to be the collective responsibility of all the teachers in the schools. So how many teachers do we have in Nigeria that has gone through AI training? How to use AI? How many teachers are using modern day notebooks, modern day lesson notes? Some of them, the same lesson note they used for someone 10, 12, 20 years ago, is still being used till today. They will just give the class captain, write it on the board. The same set of English, the same construction. And then you are giving to someone who is a Gen Z, who reads on a daily basis on social media, sees latest constructions, how people speak good English now compared to what we had back then. We should evolve and then let these people evolve too. And it's not really about government alone. As an individual, what are you doing about personal development? What are you doing to better yourself? Because you are as good as your last result. So if you were bad yesterday, it doesn't mean you cannot be good today, but people will judge you based on the last thing you do. So let's all think about, it's not really about what the government is doing for you. What else can you do for yourself? That eventually you will benefit from it and not just wait until the government comes. Every problem in Nigeria is to be solved by government. And these are basic things you can also do by yourself.
Honestly, I think you've said a lot. Let me take you from the point of, comparing Nigerian schools to some Western schools. I've heard some politicians say, tuition is not so expensive in Nigeria. Come to UK, come to US, you see how much they are paying.
Do they have the same facilities?
Is it the same quality? You see, honestly, in UK especially,
the best times in Nigeria are moving to the UK, I mean, in terms of teachers. So if we cannot retain them, and you have to pay for premium when they get there.
Obviously. And then even in that UK that they are talking about, most of them, especially, people who are not so financially buoyant, they don't go to the university. Why? It's expensive. So that college education alone, they can stand anywhere. If you interact with them, even you as a graduate in Nigeria, if you are not standing well, you'll be thinking about your life one more time. Because
just very quickly, I had an experience shortly. The road was to be fixed at Challenge Axis, and I spoke with one of the engineers on ground, someone from the United Kingdom, and I said, what's your qualification? He said, college. He said, high school. He graduated from high school, and then he had some, maybe a few courses like that. And he's one of the expatriates brought down to Nigeria to come and fix our own roads. What happens to our own university graduates? That's the problem. The practicals. It's not being done here.
We don't treat it. Even some schools here in Nigeria, they major on, let me say, theory alone. And then just as I was saying about UK, for instance, most of them, they stop at college, and then when you listen to them, they speak well. They are familiar with geography, they are familiar with history. What is it that you want to talk about that they don't know? Because they take their time to teach these people. So it's really sad. Even some of our lecturers who leave Nigeria to go and study or to go and teach over there, they don't teach the same thing they teach here. One of them was very pleased to explain that to us in class one day. He said, the way we teach you is different from the way we teach them there. You don't teach a class without a board explaining things to them. Sometimes you'll be in class and the lecturer will just be calling notes, and all you need to do is just write, and then you go back home. So it's a problem. And the one major thing is the fact that, I think you also mentioned that, there should be something that we can actually, say when it comes to your administration, when it comes to your role as a minister. When you were there, what did you do? Honestly, I think the minister, I think recently I read a report that's talking about the minister was trying to get a grant, for education. And I would love to read that. It says, federal government seeks $500 million global fund to fast-track education reforms. It said the federal government has commenced plans to access a $500 million global partnership fund in a bid to fast-track key education reforms. And then the minister, Tunji Alausa, relayed this during a CEO breakfast meeting hosted by the Ministry for the Global Partnership for Education. That was recently. So $500 million. That's a huge amount of money. What can it do in the education sector? Before thinking about building new schools, if you can renovate those old ones, it will attract a lot of persons, get the best of teachers. But it's not just about picking someone on the road to say, how much will you take? Can you take this? Come and become a teacher. Because that's what some schools are doing. In some public schools, especially secondary schools, they take in, let me say, maybe NT, they take in sometimes secondary school graduates to come and teach because they don't have teachers. So they overburden the core members. You see a core member that is taking about 3 subjects. Why? Are there no teachers before that core member came? It can be cruise for some persons, but some core members have complained bitterly online about the fact that they are taking 3 courses, they are taking about 4 classes. Why? Why? You imagine when you ask someone who studied geography to come and take history or literature. What do you expect?
He has an idea.
It will not be the benefit of those students. How can you tell someone? They will tell you, hey, I said, you are an English person now. You speak English. Maybe let's assume
you speak good English.
You speak good
English. You can
English.
teach English.
You're an art student. You should be able to take this course now. What's there? Really? It's not about that. At the end of the day, the student will just try. The core member will try to do whatever it is he or she can do, and that's the end of it. Let's get more teachers.
Do your best and leave the rest.
And leave the rest. Nigeria, they will tell you, don't kill yourself, honestly. But at the end of the day,
that's because they know
it's hard.
They know they have given you the responsibility. They know you cannot truly perform well at, and then they tell you just do what you can do, and then let the rest go, and let's see where that leads our students. But then we can always do better as a country. I remember during the tenure of former late Governor Isiaka Abiola Ajimobi in Oyo State, he built some schools across Oyo State at that time. They called them model schools. Okay, the goal at that time was to improve the quality of public education infrastructure, create a more conducive learning environment, reduce overcrowding in some urban schools, and introduce a standardized school system. It was on a journey of redefining education in Oyo State. And if you see those classrooms built at that time, if well implemented by the next administration, would have been, one of the most talked about things across the country. But unfortunately, we don't even hear about these modern schools anymore. There was a time I visited one of, the villages, in Oyo State. And one of those schools, if you now see if you saw what it looked like at that time, you will really be sorry for a state like Oyo State that invested so much in that area and then nothing is being done. The grass was everywhere. Nobody was in the classroom. They were still using the old classroom. Why not use the new one? Even though there are no facilities like that in there, you can easily move the facilities you have in here down to the new model schools that was built. There's one at Mokola here, fantastic structure, very amazing one. But then what are we doing to make sure that we maintain all these facilities? It's a big problem because maybe in the next 2-3 years after a particular classroom has been built, the first thing you see is that the windows are gone. And after that, the doors are gone, the chairs is disappearing. Maybe
so then we have to bring chairs.
They will have to bring chairs from home. That's absurd. Why do I have to? What exactly is the government providing? If I have to bring chairs, to sit in the classroom, you go to some places, some people are sitting on the floor just because they want to learn. Some in the sun because they don't have enough classrooms. The roofs are gone, leaking. When it rains, some of them will have to park to one side of the classroom. This is really sad because at the end of the day, what exactly do you think they are going to learn from that? If you learn in a very harsh condition, then what exactly are you learning? Because it is still part of what you are learning because you are being shaped to become what you shouldn't be in the first place. You think differently to other children who sit inside their condition to learn because you are in 2 different worlds entirely. But unfortunately, we are in the same country. We are in Nigeria. And someone has a different experience. I am having a different experience. And by the time we meet, of course, there will be tension. I will see them differently. They will see me differently. And discrimination will come on board. How about some people who now, we've been talking about polytechnic and university dichotomy for a long, long time. And nothing tangible has really been done about it. Till tomorrow, if you say, oh, I have HND, so some people look at you like, have you been to school at all? And some people say, I'm from social university and then automatically gets a job somewhere. But the government is saying, look, you have all graduated from the same school, you went to use service at the same time. It means that you have the same qualification. But then some people still don't believe it. Right. I think we should normalize education, revitalize that sector and make it, there should be some decisions that are casted in stone. Oh, okay, you have a degree, you have HND, you belong in the same category. There was a time some HND students are made to take a particular exam just because they want to regularize and be seen as, oh, I also went to...
Like a BSc.
Like a BSc. I mean, that's really sad. Because they have invested more time. Someone spent 4 years in class, in school, and someone had per time 3 years, that's 6 years already, and before you know it, he spends much time than you even in school.
More money.
More money. So it's a problem. But if we can regularize the education sector, I like what the Minister of Education has been doing, even though some people question his credentials to be there, but hey, he has made so many bold moves since he returned. Of course, we are talking about returning history into the Nigerian curriculum. Right. We should revitalize this curriculum to meet modern day standards. That would be a very good thing to do.
Right. Just to conclude, I think you mentioned something, environment. You know, environment as a way of shaping people. Right. You can never be better than the environment you lived in. You know, because at the end of the day, when you, I think a writer mentioned something when they asked him a question, what inspires you? Because I want to know, at 70, you are still writing books. So we were at his house, myself and some of my colleagues, and he said, you know, because he's at peace, he's not thinking about light. When he wakes up in the morning, he's not thinking about what to eat. He's not thinking about, you know, insecurity, because he has all, let me just say, the basic things of life. So if you have all of that, I promise you, even if you are not creative, if you can...
Something will come.
Something will come.
Yeah, that made me remember a friend of mine that traveled. I said he stopped praying because the moment he traveled out of this country. I said, why? He said, majority of the things he would usually pray for to happen in Nigeria has been taken care of. I mean, God, let them bring light. I mean, as now. God, let there be good road in my community. Yeah. I mean, let there be water. I mean, these are not prayer requests. They are just wishes. And these are things that should be taken care of by the government. And if it is not there, I mean, your creativity will die unless you are extra passionate.
Exactly. You have like a strong head, you know, just like some persons will say. So, you know, environment should be worked on. And then you mentioned something, I think I mentioned that, you know, some students, there was a time in this country, especially in this Ibadan, you know, the beginning of the first term, you see students carrying that combined chair and table on their heads, and then they are going to school. When they get to class, they will lock it.
Your name is written on the chair.
Honestly.
Nobody sits on your chair. Nobody sits on your chair. Because you brought it from home.
Until one administration came and said, let's put an end to this nonsense, and then provided, you know, furnitures for the kids. And then finally, just before I conclude, I don't think, you know, some Nigerian students, especially people who attend federal universities, thought that, you know, a time will come when there will be no ASU strike for 3 years straight. So kudos to the president. He said he's going to achieve that. There won't be ASU strike.
And he's able to do it.
And of course, I love to applaud him on that, because you see students, they use your 4 years is 4 years, you're out. And then at this point in time, we are now seeing federal university students, you know, graduating at the same time with their friends and private uni, because there's no ASU strike. So if he can do that, he can do much more. This money that they are trying to, you know, get now, they should use it to, you know, improve the quality of the schools.
Invested.
Honestly, and then this will get better, really.
All right, it's a convenient place to leave that topic this morning. We say thank you for being a part of the show so far. Let's help you manage your day and, of course, help you plan your day. And we'll be starting, of course, taking weather report on this show. That starts with the Asian Metropolitan City of Hospitality, Ibadan, the brown roof city. Right now in Ibadan, weather currently feels like 26 degrees Celsius in Ibadan, southwest. But later in the morning, it rises by 5 degrees Celsius to 31 degrees Celsius. It will be mostly cloudy with humidity at 2%. It rises further to 35 degrees Celsius in the afternoon, remaining mostly cloudy, 0 chance of humidity. But in the evening, it drops to 28 degrees Celsius. It will be partly cloudy with humidity at 4%. And overnight, it drops to 26 degrees Celsius, cloudy, humidity maintaining 4% in the ancient city of Ibadan today.
And from Ibadan, we cross to Ekiti southwest, where the feels like 24 degrees Celsius this morning, and later in the morning is expected to be around 29 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy, around 1%. In the afternoon, we have 34 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy, around 0%. And in the evening, we have 26 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy, around 1%. And overnight, it drops to 24 degrees Celsius, cloudy, around 3%. And that's what we have for Ekiti this morning.
All right, moving on from Ekiti, let's take this one from the center of excellence, and that is in Lagos. Weather in Lagos, as we speak, currently stands at 33 degrees Celsius. But then, weather is currently fair as we speak, but later in the morning it drops to 31 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy with humidity at 2%. And of course, in the afternoon, rises by a degree to 32 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy, humidity maintaining 2% right there in Lagos. And by evening, it drops to 29 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy, humidity climbing to 4%. And overnight, it will be cloudy, and it drops to 28 degrees Celsius slightly, and of course there will be zero chance of humidity right there in Lagos overnight today.
And from Lagos, we cross to Abeokuta, South Ogun this morning, where the feels like 29 degrees Celsius this morning, and later is expected to be around 32 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy, around 1%. In the afternoon, we have 36 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy, around 8%. And in the evening, it drops to 29 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy, around 4%. And overnight, it drops to 26 degrees Celsius, cloudy, around 3%. And that's what we have for Abeokuta, Ogun this morning.
All right, moving on to Port Harcourt in Rivers State, still in the south, but in the south-south this morning. In Port Harcourt, weather currently feels like 22 degrees Celsius as we speak. It rises by 6 degrees Celsius later in the morning to 28 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy with humidity at 10%. It will remain mostly cloudy in the afternoon, with weather rising to 30 degrees Celsius, humidity dropping to 4%. In the evening, it drops to 24 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy, humidity also dropping to 2%. And overnight, it drops further to 22 degrees Celsius, cloudy, and of course, humidity rising just by a percentage to 3% right there in Port Harcourt, Rivers State today.
And from Port Harcourt, we cross to FCT Abuja. Weather feels like 25 degrees Celsius. Later in the morning, it's expected to be around 30 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy, around 1%. In the afternoon, we have 36 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy, around 1%. In the evening, it drops to 30 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy, around 1%. And overnight, it drops to 27 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy, around 2%. And that's what we have for FCT Abuja this morning.
All right, moving on. We'll take this one from Suleja, Niger State, and that's the largest state in Nigeria right now. Weather currently feels like 26 degrees Celsius. And later in the morning, rises to 30 degrees Celsius. It will be mostly cloudy with zero chance of humidity. And in the afternoon, it rises further by 6 degrees Celsius to 36 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy, zero chance of humidity. It will remain partly cloudy in the evening, dropping back to 30 degrees Celsius with humidity at 2%. And overnight, it drops further to 27 degrees Celsius. It will be partly cloudy with humidity maintaining 2% right there in Suleja, Niger State today.
And from Suleja, we cross to Kano Municipal. Weather feels like 24 degrees Celsius this morning. Later in the morning, it's expected to be around 32 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy, around 0%. And in the afternoon, there's a sharp rise to 38 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy, around 0%. In the evening, it drops to 30 degrees Celsius, mostly clear, around 0%. And overnight, it drops further to 25 degrees Celsius, mostly clear, around 0%. And that's what we have for Kano Municipal.
All right, lastly on weather report this morning, we'll take this one from Maiduguri in Borno State. And right now in Borno State, weather currently feels like 26 degrees Celsius. And there will be a sharp rise to 34 degrees Celsius later in the morning. It will be partly cloudy with zero chance of humidity right there. And of course, it rises further to 38 degrees Celsius in the afternoon. It will remain partly cloudy, zero chance of humidity. And it will be clear in the evening and overnight at 31 degrees Celsius and 25 degrees Celsius respectively, both with zero chance of humidity in Borno State today, Maiduguri to be precise. And that's all we can take on weather report this morning. We say thank you for being a part of the show so far. Do well to link up with us on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Dominion Broadcast. And of course, subscribe, like our Facebook page at Dominion Broadcast Television. Drop your comment there. We'll take them as the show progresses. Let's go on a quick break. And when we return, we'll take the news. We'll be back.
Hello and welcome. This is Daybreak News on Dominion Television. Ibadan. I'm Oluwayemi Adelakun. The federal government has said Nigeria's tax reform will be judged by fairness, not just revenue generation. Minister of State for Finance, Taiwo Yedele, stated this at a policy event in Abuja. He said that reforms aim to expand opportunities for women, youth, and persons with disabilities. The event brought together policymakers and stakeholders to discuss inclusive economic growth under the 2026 tax reforms. The federal government has tightened enforcement of regulations for emergency learning centers nationwide. Under the new policy, operators must meet mandatory standards or risk sanctions, including closure. The National Commission for Emergency and Out-of-School Children Education will oversee implementation. Centers are required to register with authorities, keep detailed records of learners, and submit to routine inspections. The move aims to improve accountability and address long-standing concerns in the system. The Labour Party has postponed its ward local government and state congresses as well as its national convention. The party said the decision is to allow wider participation in its ongoing membership re-registration exercise. This was disclosed in a statement by Ken Aluma Asogwa. The congresses were earlier scheduled to begin on March 26, with the national convention set for April 11th. An unspecified number of residents have been killed while several others sustained injuries after a petrol-laden tanker lost control and rammed into traders at Oji Market in Ibadan, Oyo State. The tragic incident has once again raised concerns over the dangers of street trading along major roads. Our correspondent Damilola Daudu reports. In business, Nigeria recorded capital importation of $6.4 billion in the fourth quarter of 2025. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, this represents a 26.6% increase from the same period in 2024. The report also showed a 7.1% rise compared to the previous quarter. Portfolio investment accounted for the largest share of inflows, contributing over 85%. Foreign direct investment and other investment made up the balance, reflecting sustained improvement in investor confidence. And in sport, 21 players are now in camp with the Super Eagles in Antalya, Turkey, ahead of friendlies against Iran and Jordan. Latest arrivals include Ademola Lookman, Rafael Yedika, and Saidu Sanusi. 2 more players are still expected in camp. The team will hold its first training session ahead of Friday's friendly against Iran, with another match against Jordan next Tuesday. You can visit our website on www.dominion.org.ng to watch us live and interact with us. You can also follow us across our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn at Dominion Broadcast and X at Dominion Cast. And that ends Daybreak News on Dominion Television. I'm Oluwayemi Adelakun saying thank you for watching and good morning.
Need a professional space to bring your vision to life? Dominion Television Studios offers state-of-the-art facilities perfect for your next broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options, cutting-edge equipment, and a supportive team, we provide the perfect environment for high-quality productions. Unleash your creativity. For bookings, email us at marketing@dominion.org.ng. Call us on 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast and on X at Dominion Casts. Book your space today. Dominion Television, your channel of choice.
Okay, welcome back to this particular segment. This is Newspaper Headlines and Analysis. I'm Oluwayemi Adelako. The polity is not so odd compared to the last 3 weeks, speaking about, Nigerian politics. But who knows what can happen in the next 24 hours. I welcome you on board this morning. Quite a number of headlines to discuss. And we start with Vanguard newspaper. I have the banner headline and, of course, about two riders. The headline says 2027 marking the Wike camps move to save PDP. And then let me read the riders to you. Those working against reconciliation identified, flushed out. That's coming from Turaki. Markinde Bala stakeholders gave us mandates to reconcile. And that's coming from NWC source. So it appears that, the storm might actually, become calm, as soon as possible, especially when we're hearing discussions around, the Wike camp and, of course, the Makinde camp, trying so much to bring order into the party, because at the end of the day, it's not going to benefit any of them. And I think that's a good one, because this party, PDP, who used to be the biggest political party, if not in Africa, not just in Nigeria alone, is going through this turmoil. So good luck to the big shots of the People's Democratic Party. At the end of the day, they have to ensure peace before the deadline of INEC, because if they cannot meet up with that deadline, they might be unable to file candidates for several positions, speaking about the next general elections, especially the presidential elections. And from that headline, we cross to another headline that says, terrorists ambush troops, kill 9 soldiers, policemen in Kebbi as gunmen demand 1 billion naira ransom to free 8 Kwara abductees. Don't forget about those persons that were abducted in Kwara State just recently. The gunmen are asking for 1 billion naira. Who is going to pay that ransom? Are they going to free those persons? Because, in the last few months, we've been seeing, abductees being freed, and you see them, they come in bus and things like that. But then they are asking for 1 billion naira. Who's going to pay that amount? And don't forget about 9 soldiers and policemen killed in Kebbi. At what point will this stop? Because it's really sad to see that people who are trying to defend the people are losing their lives, on the battlefield. Away from that headline, we cross to this one that says, Middle East crisis, U.S., Iran offer counter proposals to achieve ceasefire. Honestly, I don't know, there's a lot going on, especially between the United States and, of course, Iran. So it's majorly about U.S. and Iran. And then they're fighting about quite a number of things. The Strait of Hormuz, they're fighting about quite a number of things. And then it appears that they are trying to settle the matter, but it's still not looking clear. Because, Iran wants something else, United States wants something else. But at the end of the day, I want to believe that, these two major countries will have a closure, come to a conclusion. Because, whatever it is that is going on in the Middle East is affecting the entire world, not just, the Western world, not just Nigeria. It's affecting the entire world. Because even the past wars that we have seen, in this war, not just in Nigeria alone, the First World War, the Second World War, it came to a point whereby, the bodies, the allies, they decided to say, let us put an end to this war. We have lost people, we have lost money, we have lost resources. Let's put an end to this war. So I want to believe that a time will come when Iran and, of course, the U.S., we agree to say we want to finally put an end to this war. And away from that headline, let's also check this one that says, I have this headline that is saying, Ogun 2027, 11 men, 4 women battle to succeed Abiodun. I read a particular post, a report, I think a few days ago, and they said that about 4 women are trying to contest for the seat of governor for Ogun State. And of course, we have 11 men. That makes it 15 persons jostling for the seat of Abiodun in Ogun State. The numbers is quite massive, about 15 persons. At the end of the day, some will step down for the others. And then the rest we have to, maybe just, slug it out amongst themselves. But I want to speculate now. I want to believe that maybe some of them have been very vocal, so it might not be, they might not step down for the others. Speaking about the daughter, of, the former president of this country, Iyabo Obasanjo, she's one of those, trying to contest for the seat. She's been to the media houses, I talked about the fact that, she doesn't have enough resources, and then she's still looking for people to support, whatever it is she wants to do to become governor. So good luck to the people of Ogun State. I want to believe that, after Abiodun, they'll be able to decide on the best person, to become governor of that state. And from that headline, let's check out this one that says 2027. All 6 geopolitical zones rally behind Tinubu as APC holds congresses. I watched the video, yesterday, and I saw how the governors, were chanting, majorly the Congress was about, how they want to support the president. I mentioned yesterday on this set that I watched a particular video of the former president of this country, that's OBJ Obasanjo, and at that time, the PDP had about 28 governors. They already defected to the ruling party at that time. And he was saying, I have about 28 governors in my party, and you still expect me to lose. Now, Tinubu is even enjoying more favor in terms of, governors defecting. And who knows, we might see more defection. Because there was even a rumor at the time that the governor of Bauchi State, Bala Mohammed, might also defect to the APC. But then he's not defected yet, so we can't tell, It can happen at any time. However, APC is having 31 governors, state governors, and of course they met to rally behind President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and of course, it was majorly about, 2027 elections. But most Nigerians are not happy about that Congress, especially the videos that they watch. So they are complaining, these governors did not gather to talk about insecurity, to talk about electricity, to talk about how the war is affecting this country, to talk about, case of kidnapping, soldiers being killed on a daily basis, but they gathered to talk about the 2027 general elections. You need to check online tech tweets. I love to surf the internet a lot. And then you need to see what Nigerians are saying about the videos that I watch. And of course, most Nigerians have also watched. Away from that headline, let's also cross to another newspaper this morning. Let's cross to the Blueprint. And I have this banner headline that says, at APC zonal congresses of consensus, governors vow Tinubu's re-election. I just read that to you. I just explained that to you right now. Yes, this right. This Apabio upbeat Giadom Kekemeke retained zonal chairship. Speaking about the APC as a political party. Then Makinde Wike, PDP camps resume reconciliation talks. What is going to be the result of this reconciliation talks, between these two individuals? See, I really cannot process, how these two friends, it appeared to many that they were friends, especially with the OG5 thing, that started, late 2022, through 2023, and then these 5 governors, we had Makinde, Oyo State, we had Wike, in Rivers State, we had Ipiazu, and quite a number of other, about 5 of them. They even wore and co on several occasions, and then it appeared that nothing will come in between them, this 5 governors. But it appeared that, this 5 governors, or let me say this G5, scattered, in no time, especially after the general elections. So really, should we expect something positive from this reconciliation talks, between this big shot of the People's Democratic Party? And away from that headline, let's also check this one that says, this one is talking about sports now. Friendlies, full house and Eagles camp as Ndidi arrives. And of course, just like I read in the Daybreak news this morning, we are still expecting 2 more players to join them for this particular friendlies, and then they're trying to train. Good luck to the Super Eagles, speaking about these friendlies with Iran. And away from that headline, let's also check this one that says, Tinubu returns to Abuja after UK state visit, Salah festivities, and of course we welcome the president back to Aso Rock. Welcome back. Thank you. And then away from that headline, let's also check this particular headline that says, Court voids CBN's takeover of Union Bank, orders full reversal. A lot is going on about that particular story, but I think the court is on top of the matter to ensure that there's normalcy. From the blueprint, let's cross to News Direct this morning. I have this headline, the banner headline actually saying, OPL 245, federal government replies Atiku, says those opposing deal are driven by selfish interests. People are saying the federal government will always look for a way to, give reasons for everything. But at the end of the day, if the opposition parties, or let me say the politicians in the opposition parties, find a way to criticize, certain things about this administration, the federal government will also respond. And I think that's what is happening currently. But then, who are we to believe? And maybe that's the bone of contention. And away from that headline, I have a song that says, Dangote refinery forced to buy crude from international market as domestic crude shortfalls persist. Of course, it's a problem. Don't forget, we treated the particular headline on Trend Watch, I think last week, and then we saw that, some persons are blaming Dangote refinery that, it cannot still salvage the matter despite, having a working refinery in the country. At the end of the day, I recall about 2022, I was on set and I was asking my analyst a particular question, maybe 2022, 2023, and I asked him that question to say, this Dangote refinery is private, is a private refinery. Is it going to benefit us so much? Are we supposed to rely on that refinery and not work on our own refineries? Because you cannot expect a billionaire who spent billions of naira, on that refinery and expecting to run is the same way a government-owned refinery will be used. It's not going to work. It's not going to be possible. I think I asked him that question, and then he was saying, whether it's private or government-owned, at the end of the day, it's going to help us. It's going to ease the burden, on Nigerians. However, I want to say kudos to Dangote, because I mean, if not for Dangote refinery, maybe the price of fuel might have jumped to around 2,000 or more than 2,000. So it's affecting the young, the old, even the rich are complaining about this hike and the price of fuel. So away from that headline, let's cross to Nigerian Tribune. This morning, and I have this headline, the banner headline actually saying PDP crisis, Duraki, Wike group soften stance. That headline asks these riders, we've broken the ice. That's coming from Duraki. Have they really broken the ice? Or this is just for the papers? And of course, the camp tensions, across the party supporters. Speaking about the People's Democratic Party, a convention won't prevent reconciliation. That's coming from Wike. I mean, in this particular convention, don't forget the last convention that held last year. The likes of Wike, Fayoshe said it's just an Amala convention. Those persons were just eager to see their faces, to eat and party, and that's why they came to Ibadan for that convention. But this new convention that they are planning for, are we going to see the likes of Makinde in that convention? As this reconciliation talk going to provide positive results is something to actually wait for. And away from that headline, I have this one that says, NBA condemns Showore over misuse of courtroom. I watched the video yesterday, and of course, while some persons are supporting Showore, some are also blaming him for how we responded, for how we acted in the courtroom. At the end of the day, the case is still in court, so we do not know where this is going to end. And away from that story, I have this one that says court shift verifies 1 billion naira right suit against ICPC, IGP, and others. Don't forget that there was a suit, and of course, it appears that the court is trying to do, something else. So it's a lot. This Erifai's case, the same way some persons, projected that, this case will not end soon. It's going to take a while, before they finalize this case of Erifai. Don't forget the charges against him, when he said he was able to tap, the phone of Nuribad with the NSA and things, a lot of things that he said. And then the federal government came out to even debunk some. But then, good luck to Erifai. And of course, we want to believe that the court and, of course, the security agencies, are on top of the matter to ensure that justice is served. And away from that headline, just before we say our BYE on this particular session, I have a headline that says, ADC World Congress is held April 7 convention, April 14. I think good luck. The major opposition parties are trying to prepare for their Congress, for the primaries to resolve certain issues that might cause problem. So good luck to all the opposition parties. And one more thing before I go. Are we going to see merging? What happened in 2014, that made APC to win that election? We had, CPC, we had ACN and some other minor parties, they came together to form the APC, and that was the magic that kicked PDP out. Are we going to have the same thing, before the general elections? It's something to talk about because we are seeing meetings here and there, meetings, with Kwankwaso, the Congressiya movement, the Obedient, and things like that. Good luck to the opposition parties and, of course, to the ruling party as well, even as we prepare for the next general elections. My name is Unwayemi Adelakun. Thank you for being a part of this segment. Please stay with us. We take a break, and when we come back, we move on to the big story.
Right, good morning and welcome to The Big Story on Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. In a democracy, representation is the very foundation upon which governance stands. But the critical question continues to shape political discourse, not just here in Nigeria, but across emerging democracies. Should elected representatives be loyal first to their political parties or to the people who gave them the mandate? As party structures grow stronger and political alignments become more strategic ahead of 2027 elections, concerns are rising about whether the voice of the people is being overshadowed by party interests. So today we examine a delicate balance through the lens of grassroots politics and emerging leadership. So the debate between party loyalty and public interest is not new, but it has become more pronounced in recent years. Political parties provide a platform for candidates to emerge, mobilize support, and win elections. Without party structures, many political ambitions may never materialize. However, some people also have their structures. And once elected, the expectation from constituents is clear: to serve, protect, and represent their interests above all else. So, in places like Oyo State, where political engagement at the grassroots is vibrant, this tension is even more visible. Lawmakers often find themselves walking a tightrope, balancing party directives with real needs of their constituents. So, should representatives toe the party line even when it conflicts with the will of the people and, of course, their own ambition for the people? Or should public interest take precedence even at the risk of political fallout? I'm joined by a farmer in the studio this morning. She calls herself a farmer, actually, but then she's done much more than farming. She's stepping into the space with a clear vision and strong grassroots connection. Her name is no other person but farmer Omolara Kafilat Busari Svensson. She's been here and there in recent times, and of course she's done so much for herself in the area of women and youth inclusion in active politics in Nigeria. She's been an advocate. She's been on so many platforms discussing this. But now, at the point she says she's not contesting. But today, the story has changed. We want to know why. And we'll discuss at length as regards this. We've got plenty of time. And of course, we'll make use of that time very well. Farmer Omolara Kafilat Busari Svensson. Good to have you in the studio.
Good morning. Good to be here again. Nice to see you again.
Again, you are back here. This will probably be about the third time you'll be on this show. We have spoken about two different things per time. There was a time you were talking about women advocacy for women and youth in active politics. But now we want to talk active politics that concerns you as a member of the All Progressives Congress, APC.
Yeah.
Okay, you said you weren't contesting before. You've done so much. You were everywhere advocating for people at the grassroots to join active politics so they can choose the leader of their choice.
Right.
But now the story changed.
Yes.
You are contesting.
Yes.
You are an aspirant of the APC.
Yes.
Egbeda state constituency.
Yes.
You got your form already.
Yes.
What changed?
What changed actually is, first of all, my followers and some leaders and that saw in me what maybe I didn't see in me at the time, or that actually believed in my representation, not just at the state level, but at the federal level and at the international level. And then, of course, a lot of consultation. You know how they say that the lantern doesn't light for itself, but others that saw that. That's the first thing that changed. And on the basis of that, I know that I have what it takes to represent our people, which is why I have been tirelessly encouraging women to come out, youth to come out to contest for positions of governance so that we can have the right people in offices. So basically this is what has happened. It's a call to serve, which is not new to me if you have been following me from the agricultural sector. This is not the first time I have been asked by my people to come to serve. When I became the state woman leader for Afan woman leader for your state, it was a call to serve. I wasn't ready for it. I was ready for it, but I wasn't thinking of it. But when my people came and said, no, we want you to represent us, of course I had to, act into their voice. So that is what I can say, that I don't know if it's a change, but that's what had happened in terms of me not contesting. And another reason why I was saying before that I wasn't going to contest was I felt that I would be able to push for more people to come, for more women and youth, actually. And when I say youth, I don't mean youth of 60 years old, you know, to come out to contest. But yeah, here we are today. And one of my leaders said that if you want, you should live by example. And we know that you can do it. If you want people to come out and do it, then go and do it. Set the right examples so that people, women, other women and youth will see that, oh, if Omolora can do it and perform, you know, well, then I can do it as well. So,
some people asked this question the last time I was somewhere close to you and said, was it at a point where you were agitating for more women in politics, more youth in politics, actual youth, not 60-year-olds like you said, that you got to realize that you've got so much people as a structure of your own, and you felt like, yes, I think I can do it at this time?
No, I'd always known that I can do it. I'd always known that. I mean, I've been serving Nigerians in the agricultural sector for years. I'd always known that I can do it. But as I said earlier, I was of the opinion that I can push for more women to come out, for more women to see what I see, to know what I know. But one of my leaders, like I said earlier as well, said that then go in, do it, leave, show them. You know, okay, so I'll use an example for you. For me, I have 3 categories of women in Egbedo State constituency. The first categories, which I already have been working on, are those women that all they do is wait around on politicians. They follow a politician, they pick their politician. Some of them have 1 or 2 or 3 when they're around. They follow, they sing, they dance. That's all they do. They don't have a source of living. They have limited their worth as a person to just following. They wake up in the morning, head to the politician's house. They can't feed, they can't take care of children without the support of this politician. That's a set, which is, we have been sensitizing them before now, you know, and now we're going to take it a step higher by actually empowering them. Yorubani Kadawo Lokowo, those ones that are ready to work and make a meaningful thing out of their lives other than singing behind politicians. Now, a disclaimer, because this is politics. I'm not saying singing behind a politician is a bad thing. I'm saying that shouldn't be the only thing your life you are living your life for. That is the first category. The second category of women that I also need my candidacy is going to focus on are the hard-working ones. You know, they face their job, they're working, and we have a lot of them in Egbedo constituency. But they used to be like me when I was also ignorant. The moment you say politics, they're like, oh, it's for the rich. Oh, if you don't have Godfather. Oh, if you cannot do juju, jadi, you know, or prayers and all. And which is why one of the reasons actually, again, I accepted to do it, that look, that's fear that they put in us, that for you to be a woman and do politics, you have to have a godfather, you have to have 10, 20, 50 pastors, you have to have a lot of money. For the hardworking category of our women, that as well, I want to prove, I want to show that this is not 100% accurate. I'm not saying you don't need prayers, I'm not saying you don't need money, and I'm not saying you don't need a political leader or mentor or someone to mentor you, but it is not as bad as it's been projected to this set of women, you know, that we're speaking about. And the third set of women are my kind of women that are the elite. They are doing their businesses, they're doing their work, they are fine on their own, and they just believe that politics is a dirty game.
And don't want to be a part of that.
And they don't want to be a part of it. But then you leave the dirty game for whoever that is playing it to play it. And these people decide how you live your day-to-day lives. You know? So these are the reasons. And when I actually thought of it deeply, and another questions I've been getting is, why state honorable? Okay, so if you look at my journey, if you look at my journey again, even in the agricultural sector, I started from Oyo State. I started from my processing warehouse in fashion in Ojongbodu.
Because some people said you are bigger than going
to
become a state honorable.
Yes, everyone says that to me. But you know, if you can see in my declaration, fundamentally, if there is going to be a clear and deliberate growth or meaningful national impact, it has to start from the state level. That's the truth. If I want to just go into office to answer name, Senator, and it to be very sweet, Senator Farmer or Molara, Okay, then I know I have to a large extent. I know I can deliver on the floor of the Senate, on the floor of the House of Representatives. No disrespect to anyone, but I see the people that are there now, in terms of IQ and what have you. But that's not why I'm doing this. Like I said, from my track record from the agricultural sector, you have to start from where you come from the grassroots. These are the impacts that lasts. These are the impacts that actually make the difference that we're looking for. At the federal, it's I don't know the English word, is for everybody, But when you start
then you leave a footprint there in your own state.
So I believe that, God willing, I get the ticket and I win the general election. And in another 4 years, my result shows that a better state constituency has witnessed a reform that it has never witnessed before in the history of Oyo State in the past. Then it will be 51 years. Right. Then you can start building on that. God giving us life and what it takes. Then I can say, okay, I have done this. You come, another person start building on it. Just like with the NWABD, when I became the SA to the Honorable Minister of State, my boss, God bless you where you are, my DNC took over. And she's continuing from where I stopped. But if I had not gone through all the hard work,
it won't be that easy
to make NWABD come to stay, there won't be nothing for my DNC to build on. Which is why I decided to say, okay, the state honorable, I'm going there to serve. I'm not going there to, if it comes with accolades and what have you, why not? And let's think of it. If you go at the federal level, the highest you can do is 8 years. Right. You still come back home anyways. President Obasanjo just still went back to Abeokuta. So why not just build my home? Because some of us don't have plan B for retirement plan. If it's not Oyo, it will be Lalukmo or something. Why not just build the home where I come from? And that is why these are the things that I can say had happened. Not that a major change has.
All right. You mentioned something in your speech that there is no do or die politics in your own game. It is just strictly service.
Okay, so I am contesting to serve the people. I'm contesting. You see, my heart breaks a lot of times when I see in the party, and this is not peculiar to APC, and I don't want to get emotional on national TV. When I see a full-grown woman that is just wasting her life away. Because either they lack the orientation, the educational background, in the name of, oh, this is my politician. And they do things, they go out of their way, either to spite opponents or to do what they believe would help their leader in pursuing his or her own dream and her own ambitions, and they are wasting away and even burning bridges and doing stuff, behaving in a way that they can never find help, because we all need someone to pull us up. And it breaks my heart when I see our youths wasting away. So if I then come out and say, I want to serve, I want to see changes. I want to see a better Nigeria. Some people asked me in the past that why was I doing all that I was doing in the agricultural sector with no funding from anywhere, out of my own pocket and what have you. That why don't you stop? We know you can make money here and you know these connections. And I said, why I'm doing this is because I want to drive out of my house, and drive to Aleshiloye, to Gates, to Baggy, what have you, and not see a single child on the street hawking. That is why I'm doing this. I want to go to our party house and have meetings where my women welcomes me, singing and dancing, knowing fully well that none of them needs to depend on a candidate in the office, either a rep or a senate. a senator or House of Assembly member to feed or to clothe themselves. So if this is what I want to do, truly, why should it then be a do or die affair? It just doesn't make sense to me.
In your words, you said, regardless of what happens, I remain a member of the All Progressives Congress. That makes you a staunch party loyalist.
Okay, so I say this. Maybe if I should actually leave APC tomorrow, then I leave. But whatever happens, you know, especially for the office that I'm contesting for, the state's honorable state, like they call it,
Right.
it's solely dependent on your local government leaders. So if my leaders, for whatever reason, says, no, Omolara, we're not giving you a ticket, it's not the end of the world. There are so many ways I can contribute and impact to the society, you know. So either I get the ticket or not, but inshallah, knock on wood, I'll get the ticket. But if I still get the ticket on the other hand, why do I have to leave APC? There are so many. This is why I say that
so many ways you
people
can
that
function.
does do or die affairs are not. They don't have a lot of value in them. If you have a lot of value to offer, if you have a lot of things, a lot of let me use the word content, like they know now. You come up with another initiative. I have the Women and Youth in Active Politics that I'm running. I have my farmers that I'm empowering. And even in my local government, there are so many other ways. In governance generally, in politics, there are so many other ways where we can make impact. But why I want to serve Egbeda State constituency is so that I can lay that foundation. If you look at it from 1998, Egbeda had not had a female representative, and APC hadn't had for, I don't know, I think 4 administrations now. So the need for that change from an Omolara oriented and driven person is needed at this time in Egbeda, which is part of the thing again that I said earlier that had changed, right? So this is what this is all about. And if my leaders then feel that for whatever reason all this I said does not make sense and they say someone has taken the ticket, Kilode, why will I leave the party because of that?
Okay. Now let's talk about what you would do differently as a member of the State House of Assembly if you are elected into that office. And then after that, we'll talk about some partnerships you have had and how important that is for your constituents when the time comes. So, Farmer Olara, Kafilat, Bosare Svensson, what would you do differently if you get elected into the office? You've mentioned quite a few things.
I'm not doing anything differently from what I've been doing before. I'm just going to do it even better.
On a larger scale.
Because now I have the government backing and I have the facilities or the infrastructure to do it. I'm going to continue to focus on an Egbeda that is economically vibrant.
Viable.
The thing is, Egbeda is so blessed. They call us less city, but what the beauty in that is that we have
the bridge between the city and, of course, the other part of.
When I think of the agricultural opportunities that, God willing, I'm going to work on when I get to the house, it makes me smile. So what I'm going to be doing is to bring the empowerment, the training, the sensitization that I've been struggling to do. You know, I think we've had about 7 trainings in sensitizing our women, and we do it out of, oh, please, can you support us with 100K? Can you support us? Then, and the government has provision for all of this. So we take all of this provision that the state government has and direct them in the right directions. You know, we use all of these opportunities and this support for what they're supposed to be used for. And based on my experience, you can be rest assured that the right peg will be put in the right hole. So I'm just going to upgrade and add more and to what I am already doing as a citizen and as a farmer in Oyo State.
So talking about the things you've been doing, of all the things you could have chosen to do, you chose about 3 or 4 tools to do. You chose advocacy.
Right.
You chose grants for women and youth.
Yeah.
And you also chose training. Why these 3? How important are these 3 to the people of Oyo
How
State? And of
important
course,
is what?
are these three,
Training.
Yes, training, grants, advocacy. How important are these three to the people of Oyo State, and then we'll narrow it down to the people of Egbeda local government?
Okay, the training,
Yes.
right. You see, you can't give what you don't have. I'll use my women again as example and the youth. If I know that I can do graphic designing and it will earn me money, right? I can decide to say, I will help you do your graphic designs either for free or you pay me for 50%. That is me giving what I have.
Right.
We have, and again, I'm going to fault our educational system a little bit for this. We have a lot of uneducated, educated people in Nigeria. You see, vocational skills is the way to go. I'm sure we all, that has been made clear to a lot of us now. That is in terms of, you know, what you're doing to earn money. But let's even talk about our orientation. There is a whole lot, because if not that something is wrong with our orientation, why will you have a 40, 45, 50, 55 years old woman whom has nothing to do, but wakes up in the morning, resumes either in the Senate house or governor's house or whoever's house, sits around, do the house chores, and sings to their praises when they're around, sings to abuse their opponent, and that's all they do for a living. Something is fundamentally wrong with the orientation. And I can give a lot of examples like that, but because of our time, it's not only in politics, it also applies to our day-to-day lives. I mean, why would we have a youth who believes that nothing is wrong with him, that to stand on the road and beg for money, take the money, eat, and take alcohol is the right thing for him or her to do at the age of 20-something, 30-something. So the orientation, we need a lot of reorientation. We need to reset ourselves. We need to unlearn and relearn a lot of things. So the training is in two, these are the two forms of training that I will be focusing on. Working on our orientation, unlearning and relearning a lot of things, and also training, vocational training for our youth and our women and our adolescent, young adolescent, I mean like from 16 years or what have you, so that by the time they are 20-something, they already, I mean, if you go abroad, you know, you see they'll say, oh, it's summer vacation, it's during summer, I'm getting a summer job. So you see a 16-year-old, a 17-year-old already understanding the beauty of hard work, of you working and earning money, even though it may not be something, but that training that is very important. And on the issue of grants, if you were at my declaration a couple of days ago, I wanted to speak about Yamoko. God bless her, bless that woman a lot. Well, we've known from Oyo State, but then we met at the United Nations Women. Again, I'm going to work with people like her because she understands how the system works. There is a whole lot of grants out there that our youth and our women can apply for. But you have to build yourself to a certain standards before you can even say, oh, this, like they say, this grant is there for you. But do you have the criteria? Look at the basic challenge we're having now with the party registration in APC. A lot, hundreds of our members cannot register for PVC or our party membership because they don't have NIN. So, you know, there is so much work that needs to be done in
reorientation.
Yes. And the advocacy continues. I mean, it's become, my boss used to say when he's talking about me that when Omolara asks you for anything that has to do with our women and our youth, you better do it because then she becomes a pastor and a mom and everything, and she wakes you up with prayers and reasons why you should support their movement by 5 a.m. before you do your morning prayers and what have you. So I say it's a calling. It's something that I've been doing. But like I said, all of these three key contributions, we are going to build on what we have already. But this time around, what would be different is that we would have the access to government support to make sure that this gets to everyone. Not just in, you know, the thing with good governance is that it spreads. So, you know, not just only the people in Egbeda State constituency that will benefit, because like I said as well in my speech, is that There is a whole lot of international support that is there for women and youth that will be able to tap into. And when you talk international, they're not going to say focus only on Egbeda State constituency. Of course, I'll be working with other members on the floor, you know, and what have you, to make sure that it cuts across your state. Because it's high time, let me say that in English, we're the pace setters. So it's time for us to actually demonstrate and set the pace as a pace setter. Okay,
now, according to your track record, you are big on collaborations, you are big on partnerships. Oh, yes. And we have seen you do it with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, Ministry of Women Affairs, financial institutions and global organizations. You've done it with IITA, United Nations Women, UNDP, NORCOM, NLC. These are very big establishments that could easily, lift people out of poverty if they are put to the right use. What has been missing before is a true representation or the connection, the bridge building between these bodies and, of course, the people of your constituency and or your state in general.
Okay, so I'm going to answer this frankly. What has been missing is that in most cases, we have not been electing the right people into the office. Okay. If I'd come out,
but some people will argue with you.
Yeah, that's why I want to break it down. If I'd come out for this position 20 years ago, I can't give all of this.
Right.
I'm able to give all of this because I have lived it. Right? I built myself up, and that's why a lot of people are like, what are you doing with states? Right? We need to start, we have to be intentional about not just putting people that, PhD, this, 10 master's degree. What is their track record? What have they done before? Have they been intentional in the things they have done before? I said it earlier, I said my coming out for state honorable, I am intentional about what I am going into the office to achieve. And I have a clear mission and vision and a blueprint of what I want to go in there to do and how I want to go about it. For instance, my team had just written out to a couple of people where we want a couple of bodies that is going to be supporting my campaign by training our women on how to make adire, how to make bags, how to make what have you. The person you're voting into office, how many rooms have they sat down where they're talking collaborations and support and sponsorship? This is what has gone wrong. Nigerian constitution or your state constitution, we have one of the best in the world. Our problem is always implementation of these policies that the constitution had made for us. Now, how do you implement what is in the constitution and what policies that are there for you as a people? By putting the right people that has the experience, the track record, and that are intentional
about it.
Some of my friends, when they see anything that has to do with Ibadan, either they're mocking us or they're praising us, they will send it to us. They say, because we know you are intoxicated about this your state. I am intentional about your state. Anyone that knows me will know that even when we are at parties, once the musician starts Ibadan, I lose it. So you have to get someone that is intentional, not just having the track record about this is what I want to do. When I started the Women and Youth in Politics sensitization, I was intentional about it. I put my all into it, resources, financial resources, and what have you. So what has been missing is getting people in offices, not only people that knows what to do, but that are intentional about what they wanted to do and the implementation. And that's what's been missing.
Okay, politicians have been accused of disappearance, sudden disappearance after the election. What are you planning to do to tackle this problem?
Well, fortunately, unfortunately, I can't disappear anywhere for so many reasons.
Some say some politicians do not have portfolios, especially in their constituencies. They do not have any business there. They have no houses. They just come in contest with an election.
Hello, my darling. You're speaking with Molara. I have a farm at Lalupon. I have, I just told you at the beginning of this conversation that my agricultural business is started from Ojongbodu. The location is still there. Maybe now that I've been to Abuja, things may have slowed down. I have hundreds of acres of land in Fashola. I have farm in Komu and what have you. But let's even leave that aside. Oyo State is my retirement plan. Like, I'm sure I mentioned that before. I don't have any other place to be. When I travel abroad, I think after 2 weeks, I want to come home. Because even when I pack my own ewedu and everything, when you still cook it, and I'm being serious now, it still doesn't taste like the ones we make here. Maybe it's the water, I don't know. But the point I'm trying to make is that disappearance is not, it doesn't feature in my own case. Maybe those ones that has no grassroots connections and just, you know, some people come from nowhere and, you know, maybe those ones. But in my own case, it's not possible. My family is here. My whole life has been.
Okay, there has been calls for, a growing calls for 30% affirmative action for women in politics. We've seen it being discussed in so many places. But the problem, which we have seen, is implementation. How do you think that can be carried out successfully in a country like Nigeria, as diverse as Nigeria?
Well, this was also part of what some of my leaders raised when we're having this conversation about me coming out. Said, you know, we are advocating for more women in politics, but we also have to be sure that we are pushing the right women into politics. Otherwise, it's going to come back to, not that the men are perfect, no disrespect to the men, but I know a whole lot of women would have done way better than the men that we have in offices now. But because we women are who we are, it's also very important that as we're doing this advocacy, that we push the right women into offices. Come tomorrow, come the day after, I would continue to advocate. Even after I'd come out, I'm still saying, because, you know, like I said, it's up to the leaders this time, or we do direct primaries. But we're praying and hoping to God that with the so much peace and unity we have in the APC party, most of these tickets will be agreed upon by the leaders. But I'm still advocating for more women to come out. You know, show interest. Take that first step. It is very, very, very important. If you look, I said it here before, if you look at countries that has more women representing them, just take a look at it. And look at countries that, like ours, that we have almost 0.055% of women representing us. It's not rocket science. We complement each other. So when one part of it is lacking, we can't bring out the best in us as a people. So it's not a matter of competition. Just like as it is in the house, especially with bringing up children. Mommy plays good police today, daddy plays bad police tomorrow. It's called complementing each other. So we really need to keep advocating for that. And another thing, which is, this was also thrown at me before while we're still contemplating on me coming out, that I used to say that start from the grassroots. And don't just come and say, I want to be senator, I want to be president. You know, you can see now your almighty Omolara is starting from our grassroots. Right. So let our women come out, councillor, local government chairman, Ilela Lamanto Kato Losode, you know. So yes, the advocacy for women, more women in active politics is it's not negotiable, and it's something that we need to do now and now.
Okay, I'm going to ask you two questions in one. Some have regarded you as one of the bridge builders in the Oyo State APC. Now you have played an important role in making sure that the party remains one in the state, especially with war happened in 2019, 2023, and of course we are about to have 2027 general elections. And then you have played an important role. Do you think that also will help the party APC in the next general election? And how ready is your political party as regards being an opposition in Oyo State and trying to transition into the ruling party in this state? And also, what unique perspective do you think, as a woman, that you are bringing into legislation in Nigeria that is different from what we've seen in the past?
Okay, so now both questions are political, and I'm going to answer them politically as much as I can. First of all, I want to give a big kudos to the APC party leaders in Oyo State and all the APC members in Oyo State. We really have worked very hard in the past year to bring unity and togetherness, inclusive. We try to get everyone, on board, we try to mend fences, settle disputes and what have you. And you see, I'm not sure if you followed our unity rallies that we did in all the federal constituencies.
Right.
So, you know, these things, it's not an easy job. You know, we really have gone a long way, come a long way as APC Oyo State. And I'm sure that the citizens of Oyo State have seen it, that APC is really a progressive party. And come 2027, by the special grace of God, we are taking over Oyo State so that Oyo State can be progressive as well. The second question that you asked was, what role
What you do differently.
I'll do differently.
And the unique perspective you are bringing to legislation in Nigeria.
Okay, so I'm going to bring it down to Oyo State, if you don't mind. I'm going to bring representation, true representation, to the floor of the House of Assembly in Oyo State. You know, I'm going to bring performance, you know, come up with bills that are actually achievable and progressive for the citizens of Egbeda State constituency and Oyo State at large. Because so far, we have not had representative that is intentional and that is progressive on the floor of the National Assembly. And that is the truth. And I am going to be intentional about implementation of the existing bills that works for us, that is progressive, and the new bills that we're going to introduce that would be progressive and productive for the people of Egbeda State constituency and Oyo State at large. The the State Assembly is so powerful. It sets tone for governance in Oyo State, and it is sad what we have had in the past 8 years on the floor.
Okay, lastly, before we go, what would success look like for you if eventually you get elected as a member of the Oyo State Assembly?
Okay, been here before. As a city, I can conveniently boast of hundreds, thousands of women that God had used me to touch their life one way or the other. Success to me would be for me to come out here December next year and maybe come with about 500 youths.
And fill our compound with them?
Yes.
Okay.
That are now doing something, that are now going to school, that can now feed their families. You know, come again with my women who used to have nothing to do than, you know, living their life for someone else, who are now independent, or, you know, and also are thinking in the right way. Success for me would be having health centers in Egbeda revived. These things it's not rocket science, and it doesn't cost that much. It can actually be achieved if we have a representative that is intentional. Success for me would be to come out here and say, look how many health centers that we've revived, look how many schools, you know, that has been brought back to life, and look how many of our elderly people now have the right orientation on what they should eat and not eat, and have access to basic medications. You know, this is what success looks like for me. Success to me will be roads that are for state and that are not in good state for in Egbeda State constituency being put in line for, you know, renovations or what have you. This is what success looks like for me. But first of all, and most importantly, is to see growth in our people. Because when the people have growth in them, when they are doing well, then the society at large will do well.
All right, Farmer Omolara Kafilat Buzari Svensson, thank you for being a part of the show so far. This conversation has not ended.
No,
of course, it continues. Yes. And I will bring you back some other time to discuss some other interesting topics that people will really love you speak about. Thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you for having me
this
again.
morning.
Thank you.
All right, it's been an insightful conversation examining one of the most important questions in our democratic journey, where true representation should lie. Many thanks to our guest this morning, Can I say she's now Honorable Omolara Kafilat Busaris Benson?
I still keep doing my farming.
Okay, all right. A 2027 aspirant of the Oyo State House of Assembly, Egbeda State constituency, for sharing her insights and thoughts on perspectives on balancing representation, party loyalty and expectations, and the needs of the people. As the political landscape continues to evolve, one thing remains certain: the strength of any democracy lies in how well the people are represented. Thank you for staying with us on Daybreak Live this morning. It has been The Big Story. I'm Samson Balogun, and of course I wish you a productive day ahead. Stay informed, stay engaged, and remember, your voice matters. Let's go on a quick break. When we return, of course, Trend Watch will be the next one. We'll be back.
Welcome you back. Thank you for staying with us. That was an interesting conversation, of course, with Farmer Vincent. It's time for Trend Watch. I'm back on set with Samson Balogun. And what we have this morning is saying, accept outcome of 2027 election. Focus on 2031, APC saying to the opposition parties. And of course, the APC publicity secretary, that's Felix Walker, said on Tuesday that the opposition parties should focus on 2031. 2037 is gone already, and of course, it's obvious to them that APC is going to win that elections. And that Nigerians are saying, how can you conclude so fast? Because, we still have like about a year to elections, so depending on INEC now, speaking about the timetable. And of course, whether you have 31 governors in the ruling party still does not guarantee that you're going to win that election. Same thing happened with Jonathan in 2015. He had about 24 to 25 governors and still lost that election. So what do you make of this? Because honestly, it's too early to conclude. Never say never when it comes to an election in Nigeria. Anything can still happen. Really.
You see, Yemi, I want to tell you for a fact here today that Felix Walker had a reason to conclude that they were going to win the election. And I'll give you reasons. There are facts. As we speak today, in Nigeria, openly, people that have joined APC, sitting governors, they have 31.
Right.
There are some who have actually openly said we are with the APC, even though we are not changing political parties. Alex Otti, for example, mentioned that. Charles Chukuma Soludo mentioned that. And, you know, FCT, of course, he has some wickets there. That makes it 3. That's 34. Out of how many? About 36 or 37. Yeah. So it shows that they have 36 states, 34 states out of 37 in their pocket. That is one. They have about 288 House of Reps member out of 360. That also tells you that they have the numbers. In the Senate, I mean, you know how many senators they have already in Nigeria as we speak. It means that the APC is ready for the election. And another thing is, if you look at the numbers of people who have registered as members of APC as a political party, who are card-carrying members, digitally registered with their NIN, you know the number now. So it shows that they are also ready. They have their party members, and they still have Nigerians who you think will not vote for them that will eventually vote for them.
Samson, what if people differ from the APC to other political parties? What if they see that big, you know, merger
now, what you just said, as it will happen to APC, people will leave APC and join another political party. Right. But people will leave every other political party before the election comes, and then join other political parties like APC too. Now, another thing is, the major opposition that the APC would have in the next election is the PDP, that is in disarray. And if they must sit down with Wike and say, we have agreed to what your terms and conditions, means that they will not feed any credible candidate as a presidential candidate in the next election. So the ADC, they have 2 factions, they are already in court. The aborigines, the people who own the party in the first place, they are taking the David Marks of this world, the Aregbe Sholas of this world, to the court to say, look, you have hijacked our political party. The same problem that the PDP is facing is now facing the ADC, even though they have not publicized theirs much.
Labour Party is another sorry
case. Labour Party is another sorry case.
They zone to the south, and then, of course, it might not give some persons who are interested in contesting. Dati Ahmed, I recall, said at the time that he's interested in contesting as the president. But now that they have zoned to the south, mention one person in that Labour Party as we speak now.
That's not even the problem. All the parties that should contest favorably against the sitting president and the almighty APC in Nigeria as we speak, how many of those political parties can boldly say, we don't have a problem, we don't have an issue? The only set of parties that we know that don't have real problems, maybe ADP. And who is ADP going to field? NDC. And who are the ones who are going to join the party? Will they be able to move all their party members to that party? It's a big question. See, I'm not an angel of bad news, just like Segun Fawole Flood will say. But the truth is, when you have the situation you have in Nigeria as we speak, when all political parties that should be, one, fighting against the ruling party, they are in disarray, they are scattered all over, and they are not even ready to come down from their high horses to have decent conversations as adults should have it, as a political party should have it. Then there's a problem. I don't see any way any one of them will stand in the way of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the next general election. I'm not a member of the APC. I don't advocate for the APC, but with the statistics we have on ground, with the numbers, it favors the APC. And there's no lying about it, there's no sugarcoating. That's just the basic truth.
Of course, just before we take comment, even the PDP who are said to reconcile, the Wike and of course the Makinde faction, Wike has said, you know, times without number that he's going to be supporting President Bola Ahmed. And
the same ADC, Peter Obi has stylishly told his followers that he might not likely get the ticket of the ADC, meaning that he's preparing their mind that there might be another
defection. The new electoral act might actually be a problem. It might not be able to fly the same way it did in 2022 because of the new electoral act.
And that's where the problem will lie. It will try to move, and then the electoral act will be a problem. And that's it. So that's
we are about to watch a movie.
It's a movie entirely. Let's take one or two comments.
Let's take one or two comments before we say our BYU this morning.
I think, okay, Abati Umar says, what outcome of 2027 election? Votes casted for the election already. How? Okay, let's take another one. Well, 231 says, congrats to official bats. Okay, your well-deserved victory like 2027 to 2031. We
Nigerians knew. They catch Christmas with everything. And of course, Cletus China is saying, anytime you hear words like this, it simply means that someone wants to play game in a democratic system. You can't say for sure how an election is going to turn out. But here in Nigeria, some people are already telling you to forget about 2027. APC will now be prophet. I mean, they should answer that question, not us.
I mean, you see, people work with empirical data. They work with numbers. As long as you see that the numbers are in your corner, I mean, you have no reason to fear. In fact, it will put your opponent in further disarray when you tell them the fact you have with you, they will be busy running around to find solutions to their problem. There might not be forthcoming.
Some politicians think APC is trying to play mind games.
This is not mind games. This is fact. We all know. We see how many senators they have, how many members of House of Rep. We see how many states they control at this time. Even people from PDP moved in their numbers. The whole cabinet collapsed into the APC. And what are you saying? It's a major problem.
But then that's the duty of the electorate.
Right.
Get your PVs. It's not about complaining that you
vote for
decided.
the candidate of your choice.
Vote for your best candidates.
Well, it's a convenient point to draw the curtains on today's edition of Daybreak Live right here on Dominion Television. We say thank you for joining us on the show. Do what to link up with us on all social media platforms. And don't forget to join us again tomorrow on Daybreak Live Extra, the Owambe edition on Dominion Television. Samson Balogun is my name. I say keep being good out there. Keep being safe. Bye for now.
All right, do not be an online voter. As a Nigerian, get your PVC. It's your power to determine who you want to vote for. My name is Oluwayemi Adela. I'm saying good morning and have a great day.